Hello, and welcome to Top Posts from r/AskReddit. Reddit Readings, Episode 9. Hiring managers of Reddit. What was something on someone's CV or resume that made you either immediately want to hire them or immediately reject them? I was working for a small digital agency and we were looking for designers and illustrators, general multi-skilled creative types. The boss wanders in with a sly grin and a big folder. It was from a guy who wanted a job. I came over and he started flicking through it. Page after page of sexy cartoons. Lots of them furry type stuff. Boobs, butts, lips, figures intertwined. Lots of detailed musculature. So I was like, well, it's quite good for what it is, but what else is there? Is there another section? Nope, nothing else. Just a folder completely full of semi-pornographic cartoon people and sexy anthropomorphized animals. He was not hired. It wasn't because of the cartoons. It was because it was all just those cartoons. Would have liked to see some commercial applications of illustration, or something showing he could work to requirements, or a variety of work showing different styles. Also, this was 15-ish years ago. I had one application dropped off by the applicant's mother. She told me, if you hire him, you probably shouldn't trust him with money. Please tell me it was at a bank. Not hiring, but one time a dude had excessive masturbation listed as a hobby. Not recommended, unless you want to hire for a product tester in certain branches. I had a candidate who worked in counseling in the past, mostly with kids who had been through trauma. They had a line on their resume that said, expert in child kidnapping. I had to at least give them an interview because I understood the intent, but the wording was just hilariously unfortunate. Someone sent over their CV written entirely in the papyrus font from Microsoft Word. May as well have gone all out and used windings. Guy submitted a resume claiming to be a ghostwriter for a local college. In lieu of a college degree, he listed the units he wrote assignments for and the average grades his clients got. I've seen resumes that didn't have a name on them. Sometimes I review applications and resumes for design positions. As they are typically made by competent designers, they usually look a bit nicer than the average resume. Reviewed one resume for a woman fresh out of college. The top quarter of the resume was a big, artsy signature in blue with her name on top of it. Her portfolio was an Instagram account, which I don't really recommend unless your job is making art intended to be on Instagram. The next quarter was her experience. Obviously, if you're fresh out of college you might not have real experience to put down, but some people are able to bridge that gap mentally and will write down freelancing, volunteering, part-time work, etc. and talk about it in a professional way. This woman listed at least 5 jobs with descriptions that basically amounted to, I worked there, though. For one part-time job, she claimed she learned how to run a business. This woman's volunteer experience was picking up trash in a forest 7 years prior, likely when she was in high school. The next half of the resume was a list of skills that made no sense because of how they were written and because there wasn't anything to back them up. Things like working independently and in a group, problem solver, marketing skills, detail-oriented. Her resume was also full of typos. I'm all for soft skills, don't get me wrong, but if you have half a page of skills and can't get a job, maybe it's an indicator that you don't actually have those skills. For the same position, we also got a lot of applications that made no sense. One applicant's resume listed himself as single and included a headshot. He was located halfway across the country and worked in drilling oil. My advice for folks, especially those starting out in the design field, make your resume look nice, but don't go over the top. If you can't make a resume look nice, you probably can't make nice looking work here. Either put your portfolio on a dedicated website and put in the work for it to look polished and professional. You can list experience that isn't relevant so long as it's relatively recent and you talk about it well. Talk about the impact you and your work made. Use your experience section to sneak in your skills. Your experience and skills should work together to confirm that you can deliver what you say you can deliver. Someone sent us a 20-minute long video why they wanted to work with us. Not hired, just too much. Another applicant explained her family situation honestly in the cover letter. She fit our culture, and as well as amazing skills, we hired her. It was 14 pages. Haha, we had a resume for an internship come through that was that long and included his karate accomplishments in 6th grade. A guy put his bench, squat and deadlift numbers in his personal skills section for a bar job. It spawned a long tradition of asking bartenders what they could bench when they applied for a job. Hiring for retail. 2 all-time favorites. Experienced at stalking the cooler. Responsible for closing paperwork after each shit. Not a hiring manager, but for years, I was applying for jobs with a high school qualification for art and design, listed as fart and design. Got 2 jobs in that time and countless rejections. Was looking for a casual salesperson. This 18-year-old put a selfie of her which was taken in a car showing a lot of cleavage. Not what I was looking for. I guess she was hoping I was a middle-aged single man. I had a funny typo on a resume I once reviewed. It read, assassinated the lead florist on site. Obviously it was meant to say assisted. Bad emails. When interviewing for a professional position and your contact email is 69 smoker girl 420 blazing. It's a terrible way to start the resume. Right? It's free to make as many emails as you want. Just spend the 3 minutes to make a second email that's firstname.lastname@domain.com for your work purposes. I got my first IT job because I put in additional skills modifying Fallout 3 using Geek. I just loaded custom packs and got them to work and they gave me the job miraculously even though I was underqualified. Once I received a resume that had raid leader for World of Warcraft in top guild of a server. This was about 9 years ago. The other hiring managers laughed their asses off and said this guy is a joke and they all dismissed him. I asked the guy to come in for an interview and he did pretty well and I hired him. The reason I brought the guy in for interview was because I'm an avid WoW player at that time and I know the shit raid leaders go through. Trying to get a large number of people together, coordinate resources and rewards, getting guides together and telling people to up their healing DPS and not stand in fire. All done virtually via event and forum postings, meaning you never met these guild members in person. You need some great leadership skills and project management. Also at that time I was dealing with a lot of people off-site so I thought this guy would be a good fit. 9 years later, I've left the company. The WoW guy I hired turned out to be great, especially in the last 9 years when corporations decide that working from home, virtual meetings is the way to go to cut cost. His skill set as a raid leader translated very well with remote project management and is now the manager of the hiring managers that laughed at his resume. This was at a Fortune 500 financial company. My uncle works in marketing and told me about an applicant who sent them a video file as resume, where he presented himself like one would present a product in a commercial. He immediately wanted to hire him for his creativity alone. Recruiter here. I have a few. Resume. Hire me lol. Video interview with another candidate. She was in a hospital bed and just gave birth to her son prior to her interview. Hired another video interview. The guy was chugging a tall boy Coors Lights. Had a kid applying to work at a Sam Goody as a stock boy right. That he was a petroleum transference engineer for Exxon at his last job. His job was pumping gas. I hired him on the spot. I reviewed a resume like that once. Kid wrote something like, waste management technician, for being a school janitor. Hired for a junior UX role. An applicant's CV header was, your bubbly UX designer, which was good enough to warrant an interview. In the interview, when we asked what was their dream job if they were in a completely different area, they answered, Juventus manager. We knew she was a keeper. Not a hiring manager but I once wrote stuff like, able to plug in USB on first try, and, can do up to 10 push-up before going into sleep mode, in the additional skills section. They later told me I was invited because they wanted to see if I really can do the first one. I have several CVs that will never make the cut. I keep them in a non-GDPR proof binder hidden out of view. I work as an IT recruiter. Normal CV on the job site. Junior profile. 18 years old. Just finished school. Pretty normal CV, except, at the bottom, he writes that he has a small dick and likes guys. The CV goes back and forth in the office. Eventually we decide to call him and ask why he put that on his CV. Turns out he had to make the CV for school, left his PC open, and one of his classmates thought it was funny to add that to his profile. A CV with a picture of a man and only his boxers. No headshot, just his abs, boxers and legs. Several CVs with people ranting against the government, religion or anything else. Obvious proof of mental disabilities. People writing things such as, "I will do the time for the crime I may or may not have committed." So many cover letters with the wrong company on it. Recruiters will forget to change your name when sending you an email. Applicants will forget to change the name when applying. We really need to get rid of mandatory cover letters. I'll still call them if their profile is decent. People being open about just putting their CV online so they can keep their unemployment benefits. At least they don't waste my time. I was on a hiring committee for a college instructor. The candidate was asked to provide a statement of commitment to the college and its mission. An entire paragraph was plagiarized, copied and pasted from a website. I noticed that the writer's voice drastically changed, so I pasted a sentence into Google and immediately found the source. He did not get an interview. Not so much the content of the application, but what was on the application. A handprint. It was for a food handling position and he was grungy enough to leave a print from where he held down the paper to write on it. Instant no. Looking back, yeah, there was a chance he'd have been fine. We could have taught proper hand washing and all that, but at the time we declined to grant an interview. I would like to work at your factory. I don't have a factory. Read the fucking job description. I work at an escape room. We once received a resume that consisted in a web page address protected by a password, and 3 well-crafted riddles that we had to solve to get the password. We spent an hour doing it with 2 colleagues, and it included decrypting a code from a specific frame of Zodiac by David Lynch. It was simply amazing. Sadly, we weren't hiring at the time, and she had found another job. We started hiring again. Thank you for listening to Reddit Readings episode 9. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing.